right, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Career Chat, Fun Fridays from the Field. We're really excited to have all of you with us today and super excited about our guest speaker. We do have Mariah today and the cows from NICC's Dairy Center as our guests today. And we have Gina who will be moderating. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to Gina so we can get started.
Thanks, Krista. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Mariah, and to all of her friends. So as we review kind of what we did last year, we hadn't covered anything in ag yet. And we thought it would be great for you all to have an introduction to some careers in ag and meet our herd here that we have on the NICC Calmer campus. So Mariah, welcome. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background, your education, and what led you to where you are currently?
Yeah, so thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to show you guys the cows and of course talk about agriculture and careers in agriculture. So I grew up on my family's dairy farm in Northeast Iowa. So I was active there on the farm every single day. Really enjoyed growing up on the farm and being exposed to agriculture and everything. So in high school, I was really involved in 4-H and FFA. I showed dairy cattle at our county fair, and I participated in dairy judging. And so I had a team that did really well with that, and it led me to a couple of really awesome opportunities to and even abroad to compete in Scotland. So agriculture takes you off the farm sometimes, which is great. I also served as my county dairy princess, and then I went on to be the Iowa dairy princess as well. So after high school, I decided I wanted to continue my passion for agriculture. So that led me to Iowa State University. So I have my bachelor's of science in dairy science and then agriculture and society. And so what that means is I love cows and I love, the science behind cows, but I also love to talk. And so that's where my agriculture and society degree came in handy. I know how to communicate about agriculture and about cows. So it's a really unique combination. After graduation or right around graduation time, I was looking for a job, and I knew that, maybe being out on the farm day to day wasn't for me, and that's okay. It is definitely for some people, but for me, I wanted more of a job where I could advocate and communicate about dairy. And right around the time I was about to graduate, the position at the Dairy Center opened up to, which is as the coordinator of the Dairy Center, so which is a lot of education. It's a lot of planning events like breakfast on the farm, doing a lot of tourism, just advocating for dairy. And that position came open. I interviewed and I got it. And so I've been here for the past 4.5 years, and it has been amazing. So getting to meet people, getting to work, I'm sitting here in the barn while I don't, work day to day with the cows, like feeding them and cleaning them. I get to show 10,000 visitors every year where their milk comes from. So, I have a very unique career in agriculture. And I think that's what's really important is that when we think about agriculture, sometimes we think about the only careers are being a farmer, driving a tractor, milking cows, feeding cows. There's so much more in agriculture than just being a farmer. So I hope that we can kind of touch more on that later and talk about that too. So sorry, that's my really long-winded version of me and how I'm here.
Let's go right into that since you mentioned it, because there are so many careers in agriculture, and our students that are on with us from Dubuque actually do not have ag as a pathway at their high school, but that doesn't mean they couldn't pursue that as a career. Is that correct, Mariah? And tell us about some options.
Exactly. So I heard this recently and I didn't think about it, or this data I'm about to share, but I didn't think about it until, I heard it. The largest sector that employs people is agriculture. And we think about how less than 2% of the people in America grow up on farms, how is agriculture the largest employing sector if only less than 2% of people grow up on farms? And the reason for that is we think about agriculture, involves so many people other than just farmers. It's the people that, think about the food that you eat. So that food has to be processed. It has to be driven from the farm. It has to be taken, the milk has to be taken from the farm to the creamery, to the grocery store. People have to work in marketing to promote that product. At the farm level, we have people here besides our farmers that work here every day that support us. So we have veterinarians, we have nutritionists that formulate the diet that these cows are eating. I mean, we don't just throw feed in front of these cows. It is put together, like we get a recipe as to what exactly we need to feed the cows down to the pound, how much corn silage, how much hay, how much their vitamins and minerals need to be in there. We think about the people that are working genetics. So I'm just trying to think, there's just so many careers in agriculture that are available that are not directly involved on the farm. So even though you don't have agriculture as a career pathway, I bet out of the audience here, when you guys grow up, a lot of you will end up being involved in agriculture in some indirect way.
And I'm guessing some of them already have connections to that because there are quite a few employers in the Dubuque area who are connected to ag, John Deere, Progressive Processing, just to name a couple. So fantastic. All right. So that answers one of our questions. So tell us what classes you would recommend that they do take in high school, knowing that maybe ag isn't an option for everyone.
Oh, it just depends on like what your strengths are, like what you're really interested in. So for me, I was really into communications. And so I enjoyed taking communication classes, more so in college than in high school, but classes that taught me how to utilize social media effectively, or classes that maybe teach you how to use Adobe or things like that. So sometimes when classes, or even just like basic classes like my speech class that was required, even though those weren't a direct ag class, I always did my projects, wrote my papers, and connected it to agriculture because I knew that's what I was passionate about. And maybe that's a good thing to point out for everybody, even if you're not passionate about agriculture, but whatever you are passionate about, try to connect the classes that you're taking to what you're passionate about. Write your papers about that topic you're interested in. Write your speeches on a topic that you're interested in. So yeah, that's what I did. So even though sometimes classes aren't exactly like what you think they would be, you definitely put in the extra effort to connect them and make them what you want them to be.
That is a great suggestion because I know for me, I was always like, why am I in this math class? Because I really liked the communication like you. And sometimes that's hard, but I do budgets now. So you never know when that skill is going to be useful. So those classes are all important.
Exactly.
So tell us some of the different working environments in different ag careers where you might be located. So you said, you're with the cows right now, and you have people who obviously have to be with them, but that's not the only option for a work environment in the ag field.
Yeah, so everybody in agriculture kind of has their own different work environment, what they prefer. So I, most of the time, work in an office doing a lot of stuff that has to deal with the farm and communicating about the farm and the cows and everything I do. But I do enjoy being out here with the cows. I try to get out once every day, or sometimes I have tours every single day that I'm out in the barn. And it's nice to know what's going on out here in the farm. But in other careers, sometimes people are in the barn with the cows. Sometimes people spend a lot of time in a tractor. If they work at a co-op, they spend a lot of time going around to different farms. Same with people that are salesmen, people that will get out to other people's farms. There's also a lot of people that might work in a laboratory if they work in genetics, whether it's for crop genetics or dairy genetics, things like that. Veterinarians are, of course, in their own office, but sometimes, with livestock, or veterinarians have to make a lot of farm calls, so they go to a lot of other people's farms. Yeah, there's just, what I love about agriculture is it's so diverse. And I mean, for me, working in an office and being out on the farm moderately is good for what I like. But for my colleagues here that work out on the farm every day, this is exactly what they'd want to do. So, I mean, there's definitely something for everybody. So no matter what your work environment you prefer, whether it's a lot of driving, a lot of working in a lab, in an office, on the farm, you can make it happen.
Fantastic. What are some employability skills? We talk a lot about just skills that you need for a lot of different careers. What do you see, particularly in ag, that are useful skills that someone going into that field would want to have?
Yeah. In agriculture, definitely the ability to work hard. That is having a really strong work ethic is very important. Also, in just any career you go into, that's very helpful to have a very strong work ethic. Show your employers that you are willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Also, communication skills are very important. So, of course, like I'm communicating right now in a different way that maybe some of my colleagues that work on the farm communicate. But we need to be a team, and we need to communicate with each other, like what's happening on the farm, all the time. So communication, even though it's not like verbal or written communication, or like that's like out to the public, being able to communicate with your coworkers is very, very important. And just having a positive attitude. I would say, like, I know that these are like maybe skills that you're like, oh my gosh, these are really cliche that she's talking about. But as we get down to it, I mean, if you work hard, if you can communicate well, and you can have a good attitude, you can be successful in any career.
Absolutely. That is great advice. So tell us, if you're interested in ag, what are different education and training options? Do you need to go to college? Do you need a 4-year degree? What are your thoughts on that, Mariah, or what advice would you have?
Yeah, so there are definitely careers in agriculture that you can engulf yourself in right out of high school. I would recommend getting an education, whether that be a 2-year degree, a certificate program for a more specialized thing, or going and getting a 4-year degree, or even beyond that. Whatever works for you. I think always being open to getting more education is very important, because if we think about it, agriculture is not what it was 20 years ago. And same with like things like even our cell phones are not what they were 20 years ago. I mean, I remember like my parents had this like big brick of a cell phone. So like things are evolving. So in education, or like in any career, we need to be adapting and be able to evolve with technology and things as they go. So education definitely helps you with that. So even though I'm done with college, I feel like I'm still learning. I'm still going to meetings and trainings to continue to improve myself. So I would definitely recommend, whatever education level is best for you, but also being open to always finding ways to educate yourself beyond college.
That is a great point. And there's a lot evolving with technology. I definitely want to go there. But first, I want to touch on a question that came in about, is there anything you dislike about your ag career?
I dislike about my ag career? Oh boy. Gosh, that's a tough question. Like, I always talk about what I like and everything. Sometimes things can be really challenging, and sometimes like when we're dealing with a farm, there's some things that are out of control, like commodity prices and the price of milk, and that goes down and the price of feed goes up. So sometimes things can be really challenging financially, and that's just something we have to deal with. But went back to like a skill of keeping a positive attitude. A positive attitude is contagious. So even though that can be really tough, like dealing sometimes with the financials, having a positive attitude really, really helps us get through. So, yep.
I hear that math skills are important. I just heard that, even though you didn't directly say it, right?
Yep, exactly. Yes, math, very important.
So this is a great question. Thank you to our 8th grade class for putting this in the chat. If a student has never been on a farm, what's a good starter job or how they could get some exposure?
Yeah, so I feel like farms are all like, if you want to be on the farm, I guess, or like get exposure to a farm, farms are oftentimes hiring for positions like milking cows or just doing some general chores around the farm. Maybe get a job like in, and like, okay, sorry, what I meant to say, where I was going with that, I almost went somewhere else. Where I was going with that is like farmers are willing to train, and farmers are generally very nice people. So, and we're always looking to get more people involved in agriculture. So, like I said, less than 2% of the population grows up on the farm. So when it comes to all these careers in agriculture, there's a huge demand. So if you're a young person looking to get involved on a farm, I'd reach out to somebody in your area that's maybe hiring, and just tell them, I don't have experience. And we have people like that here that work for us. They come with absolutely no experience at all. And we train them to work with the cows. We train them to milk the cows and even do chores with our robots that milk cows too. So, I mean, like we deal with that all the time. But also you can find careers in things like working at the Fairway or Hy-Vee meat counter. I mean, learning about agriculture in that way, or working at an ice cream shop. I mean, learning about, dairy nutrition or the meat that comes from cows. So, I mean, there's, like I said, there's lots of careers in agriculture other than just working on a farm and being a farmer.
Those are great suggestions. So I heard you talk about robots that milk cows.
Yes.
So the technology involved with agriculture right now, I don't know if you want to show us anything, but then there's also a lot of drone technology currently happening with ag. If you look more at the plant production and the crops. So I don't know if you want to touch on some of those things a little bit as far as what are you thinking is going to happen with farming in the next 5 years? That's one of our audience
my goodness
questions.
Yeah, what's going to happen with farming in the next 5 years is we are going to start to see a lot more of it on our cell phones. I mean, technology is a big deal. So to touch on the drones, I mean, I love that people, like, drones are more of like a term that everybody knows now because people use them for taking really cool videos, like at weddings or like photos and things like that. But we use drones to actually fly over our fields and look at, where the corn is growing really well, or maybe we have a not so good spot there. We can like see really high level. We our farm business instructor Tad uses drones all the time on our farm, and I love to see the pictures and the videos he takes with that. As far as like technology in the barn, I mentioned we have robots, and so I'm actually going to walk with you guys. I'm going to take the laptop. I should show you where I'm sitting, in the barn with all these cows. So these girls, they're hungry. They just got fed, so they're eating really good right now. But I'm going to walk you over to our robots. We have 2 robots that milk our cows, and we installed these robots in 2013. And we were kind of on the front line of farmers in Iowa that were installing robots to milk their cows. So in the next 5 years, I could see a lot more people installing robots on their farm. It just helps the farmer a lot. I'll stop and say hi to our cow. This cow here was born in September 21st, 2011. So she's 10 years old. She's almost 10 years old. It's her birthday next week. So I wanted to stop and say hi to her. Yeah, so having the robots that milk our cows is really cool. And we're going to continue to see more and more technology on the farm. So hopefully I'm not getting anybody motion sick here by walking, but.
Mariah, I've always been curious while you're walking, how do you name all the cows?
So the cows, we name them, the first letter of the cow's mom's name is what the first letter of the calf's name is going to start with. So if the mom's name starts with an M, the calf's name is going to start with an M. And pretty much after that, there's no system. So sometimes we have some really crazy names. So I'm taking you inside of our robot room here. This is where we have a few robots that milk our cows. So this cow here is milking, or this robot here is milking a Jersey cow. So I'm trying to show you. It's kind of hard when I'm holding a laptop here. But we can see that the cow is being milked. There's another cow waiting in line behind her, waiting for her turn. And so automatic milking systems or robots are, like I said, becoming more popular and really cool. And so what's neat is every time the cow comes into the robot to be milked, we get over 120 points of data on that cow. So
Uh-oh, I think we just lost her. Can you hear us, Mariah?
So anyway, every single time a cow is milked, we get 120 points of data down to like things like the temperature of the cow's milk. And so let's say that the temperature of the cow's milk is a little higher than it was earlier that day or higher than it was yesterday. That could be an indication that that cow might have a fever. And so we'll get an alert on our computer or on our phone saying that the temperature of Betsy's milk was higher today. And that'll tell us to go check on that cow. Maybe that cow, like I said, has a fever and isn't feeling well. And then we can figure out how to best care for her and make and treat her so to prevent her from getting further sick or anything. So cow comfort is improved drastically. So it helps save us some time by not having to milk our cows, being here milking our cows. But it also helps us make management decisions on the farm and better care for our cows as a result of that. So this cow just came in the robot and she is first being cleaned by the robot. We have to make sure the cow's teeth are nice and clean. And then the robot is going to milk her and the cow's going to go right back out into the barn. So the whole process will take about 5 to 7 minutes. So
very cool, Mariah. So even if you're into technology, there's so much opportunity in the ag field. We have one final question. We're a little bit over time, but I think hopefully everyone else is enjoying watching the cow was being milked robotically as much as I am. What are your favorite things about your job? And then we'll sign off with you for this session.
What are my favorite things about my job? My favorite thing about my job is getting to connect with people. So sharing with people where their milk comes from. So every year at the Dairy Center, we're more than just a college, we're also a tourism facility. So we'll have about 10,000 visitors every single year for tours, to see the robots, to come for our events like Breakfast on the Farm. And it is so fun. We've had visitors from all 50 states and over 30 countries. And who would think me being outside or located at a farm outside of a tiny town in rural Northeast Iowa would get to meet so many people. So getting to share with people where their milk comes from and how farmers care for their cows is definitely my favorite part of my job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mariah. We appreciate you sharing with us and being able to see the cows, and we will talk to you again this afternoon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good day, everybody.